Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare
ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
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 नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं
नमः
चैव नरोत्तमं
देवाय
देवीं
देवी सरस्वतीं
सरस्वतीं
व्यासं ततो
व्यासं
जयमुदीरयेत्।
नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं
नित्यं भागवत
भागवतसेवा
सेव्या
भगवतीत्तमः श्लोके
भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी।
कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय
भक्तिर्भवति
देवकी
देवकी नन्दनाय च
नन्दगोपकुमाराय
नन्दगोपकुमाराय
नमो
गोविन्दाय नमो नमः।
Hare Krishna. All the devotees who are gathered here in the temple and also all the devotees on the Zoom, welcome. So we'll be glorifying today the next verse, which is number 48. So this is from Canto 4, chapter 30, verse number 48. Okay, so let's recite. Te cha brahmana adesham.
तेजा ब्रह्मण आदेशान्
ते च ब्रह्मण आदेशान्
तेजा ब्रह्मण आदेशान्
हरीशाम् उपये मिरे
मारीशान उपये मिरे।
यस्याम् महद् अवज्ञानात्
यस्यामः अवज्ञानात्
अजनियजनयो निजः
अज्ञानायो निजात्।
ते च ब्रह्मण आदेशान्
तेजा ब्रह्मण आदेशान्
मारीषाम् उपयेमिरे
मारीशान उपये मिरे।
यस्याम् महदवज्ञानात्
यस्यामः अज्ञानात्
जन्यजनयो निजः
अजन्यजनयो निजः।
ते च ब्रह्मण आदेशान्
तेजा ब्रह्मण आदेशान्
मारीषाम् उपयेमिरे
मारीषाम उपये मिरे।
यस्याम् महदवज्ञानात्
यस्यामः अभिज्ञानात्
जन्यजनयो निजः
अज्ञानयज्ञयो निजः।
Eche
तेजा ब्रह्मण
brahmana adesham
आदेशान्
marisham
मारीषाम उपये मिरे। यस्यां ज्ञानम् अज्ञानम् अज्ञानज्ञानम् तेजा ब्रह्मन् आदेशान् मारीषाम् उपयोमिरे। यस्यामहद् अज्ञानात् अजन्या अजनायो निजः। तेजा ब्रह्मन् आदेशान् मारीषाम् उपयोमिरे। तेजा ब्रह्मन् आदेशान् मारीषाम् उपये मिरे। यस्यामहद् अज्ञानाद्
यस्यामहदज्ञानात्
अज्ञे अज्ञायो निजः।
अज्ञेयजनायोनिजान् ते चाब्रह्मणादेशान्
तेषां
मारीसाम् उपयेमिरे
मारीसाम् उपयेयुः।
यस्यामहदव्यनात्
यस्यामहदज्ञानात्
अजनीयजनायोनिजा
अजन्मयो निजः।
Okay, word by word. They, all the prachetas,
all the
प्रचेताः
Prachetas
च also
Brahmana,
Brahmana
Brahmana
of Lord Brahma,
of
of
Lord
Lord
Brahma
Brahma
Adesha, by the
Adesha
order,
by the order
Marisham,
Marisha
Marisa,
Marisha
Marisha
Upayevire,
Upayemire
Mary,
Mary
Yasham, in
Yasam
whom
in whom
Mahat,
Mahat
a great personality,
a great personality
Vagyana,
Ranganath,
on account of disrespect,
on account of disrespect
Ajani,
he took birth
Ajana Yonijana,
Ajna Yoni Jaha,
son of Lord Brahma.
the son of Lord Brahma Daksha.
Translation. Please repeat. Following the order of Lord Brahma,
Following the order of Lord Brahma,
all the Prachetas
all the Prachetas
accepted the girl as their wife.
accepted the girl as their wife.
From the womb of this girl,
From the womb of this girl,
the son of Lord Brahma,
son of Lord Brahma,
named Daksha, took birth.
named Daksha, took birth.
Daksha had to take birth
Daksha had to take birth
from the womb of Marisha
from the womb of Marisha
due to his
due to his
disobeying and disrespecting
disobeying and
Lord
disrespecting
Mahadev Shiva.
respecting Lord Brahma.
Consequently,
Consequently,
he had to give up
he had to give up
his body to ice.
his body device.
Prabhu, please hear. In this connection, the word Mahad Avagyana is significant. King Daksha was the son of Lord Brahma. Therefore, in a previous birth, he was a Brahmana. But because of his behaving like a non-Brahmana or Brahmana, by insulting or disrespecting Lord Mahadev, he had to take birth within the semen of a Kshatriya. That is to say, he became the son of Krishna. Not only that, but because of his disrespecting Lord Shiva, he had to undergo the tribulation of taking birth from within the womb of a woman. In the Dakshayagya arena, he was once killed by Lord Shiva's servant, Veerabhadra. Because that was not sufficient, he again took birth from the womb of Marisha. At the end of Dakshayagya and the disastrous incidents there, Daksha offered his prayer to Lord Shiva. Although he had to give up his body and take birth from the womb of a woman impregnated by the semen of a Kshatriya, he received all opulence by the grace of Lord Shiva. These are the subtle laws of material nature. Unfortunately, people in this age do not know how these laws are. Having no knowledge of the eternity of the spirit soul and its transmigration, the population of the present age is in the greatest ignorance. Because of this, it is said in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 1:110, Manda Sumanda Madayo Manda Bhagyahi Upadutta. The total population in this age of Kali Yuga is very bad, lazy, unfortunate, and disturbed by material conditions. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-salakaya Chakshur-unmilitam yena tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Gam karoti vacharam pandumangayate Yatkripātvamaham vande Shri Gurumati Nataram Yatkripātvamaham vande Paramanandamaram Paramananda Pathaya Prema Varshyaksharayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Shri Krishnaya Namaste. Thank you very much for attending the glorification of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam once again. So, in today's verse, Srila Prabhupada is making few points which encompasses the first appearance of Daksha at the beginning of creation. This is in first Manu's period, which is Swambhu Manu. And then he also talks about the appearance of same Daksha during the previous Manvanta, which is Chakshus, sixth Manu. And Srila Prabhupada is also emphasizing the conditions of living being in today's age. So very interesting. So we have to basically travel through the time here. Let's begin with what happened to Daksha Prajapati in first one in the time of Swambhu. So as we know, Srila Prabhupada emphasized the word here, Mahad Avajnana. Mahad means great personalities. Avajnana means disobeying or disrespecting or offending. So, which very much explains why Daksha had to appear and the way he appears. So, during the time of Swambhu Manu, as we know, we have already read in the previous chapters the episode of Daksha Prajapati with Lord Shiva. That how Yajna was being performed, Lord Brahma was present in the Yajna, Lord Shiva was present in the Yajna. And as Daksha Prajapati walks through the Yajna arena, his father, Lord Brahma, acknowledges his influence to the Yajna ceremony, to the venue. But Lord Shiva, who was in meditation in trance, meditating upon his merciful deed in Lord Shiva, he did not welcome Daksha. And Daksha took it as an offense. So much that he blasted in all the superlative words you can think of in terms of criticizing of Shiva. He blasted, he blasphemed, called him monkey face and whatnot. Lord Shiva, being a great personality, he tolerated all insults. He did not take up these things, but he walked away from the to save Daksha committing further mistake. But Lord Shiva's followers, they took it as an offense. So at the fast at the ceremony there, whole lot of cursing, counter cursing, all kinds of blasphemy took place. And one of the followers of Lord Shiva, who is Nandishwar, he cursed Daksha because he was a Brahmana. He was very proud of his opulence. And one of the opulences of a Brahmana is the Brahman realization, the knowledge, the Brahmanical qualities is one of those things. Religiousness, astikyam, and jnana, vijnana. So he caused that Brahmanas will be bereft of. And this process still prevails into this world also. Brahmanas, we look at the conditions of Brahmanas today. They are very much deteriorated from their original position of being a Brahmana. Brahmana's qualities are sama, tapa, sama, dama, tapa, saucham. So many 9 qualities are described in Bhagavad Gita, 18th chapter. The 9 quality symptoms by which they know someone is known as Brahmana. So one of them is being peaceful, sama, dama, self-control. And you cannot be peaceful and self-control unless you are good in controlling your senses. So, to be peaceful, you need to be satisfied. To be satisfied, you need to be controlling your senses. So, there is hierarchy given in Bhagavad Gita. So, here we look at the mental state of Daksha during that period. That he was obviously looking for adoration, recognition, name and fame. So, he wasn't really self-satisfied. Therefore, and because he was not controlling his senses, he was looking for grace. So that is the state of a Brahmana. That is what it means to be a Brahmana. And so eventually, this is, I will highlight this point of Nandi cursing Brahmanas to lose their Brahminical power. And we see here in today's verse that this is how it happened, that Daksha, who was born from the mind, he was one of the mental sons of Lord Brahma. Very glorious appearance. Born from Lord Brahma, the supreme living being in this universe, and he was born there as Brahma. But because of this offending, great personality like Lord Shiva and many other devotees, including Nandi, he falls down from the position of being Brahma to becoming, taking birth. And now this time, his birth in 5th month, 6th manvantara is not the birth which he had in the 1st manvantara. He was born from the mind of Lord Brahma. Here he appears through the womb of Marisha. He stays there for 9 months, I believe. So goes through the, all the tribulations one goes through while you are in the womb of a mother. So he appears there. So Lord Shiva, then Srila Prabhupada also mentions here Veerbhadra. So again, when that yajna was disrupted, then Daksha organized another yajna, and this time he deliberately did not invite Lord Shiva because of that. He didn't like Lord Shiva anyway, as his son-in-law, because he appeared and so forth. And he gave him perfect reason of not welcoming him. So his conviction that Shiva is not a worthy candidate, worthy son-in-law for him was pretty much solid in his mind. So he did not invite purposefully this time Lord Shiva. But his wife Sati knew that there is yajna going on. She comes against the advice of Lord Shiva, and as we know, there again Daksha acts as the way he did even first time. He ignores his own daughter, and Mother Sati, in the end, to cut long story short, she gets Lord becomes very angry this time. And this is when he creates this powerful personality, Bhadra, and orders him to go. And he goes there, and there he possesses Daksha. What does he do? He chops the head off. So this is the first birth of Daksha, which is killed here. And now Lord Brahma, peers, and so forth, they go and pacify Lord Shiva and to forgive him and so forth. So eventually Lord Shiva then, actually Nandi had cursed him anyway, that because you are so proud and so forth, you will lose your piety and so forth, and plus because you are very proud of being an expert progenitor of very expert in sexual activity, you will deservedly get the head up. You'll become like a goat, basically. So when he's killed, then Lord Shiva specified and requested to bring Daksha back alive. And then this is what happened, that the goat which was to be sacrificed in the fire, that goat's head was then united with Daksha's body. So Daksha is brought back alive with, of course, the head of the goat. And can you imagine that in Daksha, having the head of goat, is now conscious of the offenses he has committed against Lord Shiva, and he offers wonderful praise to Lord Shiva. He seeks forgiveness from Lord Shiva and offers wonderful prayer to him. So this prayer is coming from the mouth of goat, the body of demigod, a human body like that, and the head of goat. So this prayer is coming. So all these things are happening in the first one mantra. And there, Lord Shiva forgives. And so Srila Prabhupada emphasizes here the point that because of the grace of Lord Shiva, he gains another birth. So the point there is that if Lord Shiva had forgiven him totally, then why he had to be demoted from the position of being taking an easy birth from the mind of Lord Brahma through a painful birth and going through this, womb and normal, So Daksha did not seek forgiveness from others, as far as I can understand. Especially he is the one who had caused him to lose his power. So that still holds, looks like. That even though Lord Shiva has forgiven him, he has blessed him that he will appear again, he will regain the original opulence and everything. But this time he appears as the son of Kshatriya, not son of Brahman. He does not appear as Brahman, as Kshatriya. So, Srila Prabhupada emphasizes here. So, this is one another thing worth thinking is it's a long journey for Daksha. He got the head, the goat, the body with head of a goat in first Manvantara. He appears in sixth Manvantara as the son of a tree girl. And as we have heard in the previous verses, how this tree girl, Marisha, is there and is looked after by the predominating deity of the trees. And she is given to all the Prachita 10 sons of King Prachini Marisha on the order of Lord Brahma. They all married to her. And now Daksha appears from. So Daksha has basically 10 fathers. One mother, 10.
And it was the sixth Manvantara.
Yeah, 6 Manvantara. So there is 5 Manvantara period gone. Nearly 1 billion years, I would say. Roughly 1 billion years. What was he doing in between? Was he hanging around with the head of a goat? Something worth thinking, and we can discuss if you have any you can share. But whatever, whether he is still in the, because personalities, like yesterday, Prabhu giving the class of talking about Margin devotee, he lived there for 1 kalpa, at least 1 kalpa. 1 kalpa, basically 14 manus. That's much longer than the life Daksha had here. 14 manus, here only 5 manus period gone there. So it's about 1 billion years. So it's a long way for him to, I don't know what he was doing, but from that, from Brahmana position to Kshatriya position, he comes here. The point Srila Prabhupada highlighted then, and the consequences actually very important verse I would like to share with you. In the episode of King Kamsa, how he was offending the Supreme Personality of God. And there Sukadeva Goswami explains to Maharaj Parikshit what happens when we offend a great personality. So this is 10:4-46. Ayushriyam yashodharmam lokanashmisate vacha antrisheyansi sarvani unso mahadapati krama. So when we offend a great personality, what happens? Ayu, 6 things. Translation. My dear king, when a man persecutes great souls, all his benedictions, all the blessings you have received for longevity, beauty, fame, religion, and blessings, and promotion to higher planets will be destroyed. So if we subject this sloka, this verse to the episode of Daksha, there Sukadeva Goswami is explaining in context of Kamsa, but it's very relevant on Daksha as well, on Ravana. You can take any personality who has offended great personality, it will look like that. So what happens that you lose the benedictions, you may have been blessed for a long life, and you lose that. And here we see Daksha was killed. He was killed, and when he offended, he was killed. So he lost his, life there. Of course, he was brought back alive, but not in the same condition as originally. He now established a hybrid, body of a demigod and then head of a goat. And beauty, of course, you can imagine the beauty of someone who has head of a goat. He has lost his beauty. And fame, of course, now we are still discussing his activities, so you can understand what dent has caused for his fame. And religion, of course, he was not acting according to the principles of dharma. That Lord Shiva's position is much higher than even Lord Brahma. He is the greatest of Vaishnava. And he is not an ordinary personality. He is not even a Jiva Tattva. He is Shiva Tattva, which is very, very close to Vishnu. Of course, promotion to higher planets, of course, as we know, he is still hanging around. And in 6 Manvantara, he appears again. So, the point there is that when we offend a devotee of the Lord, especially, there are consequences to it. And the only rectification is that we won't forgiveness. We discussed in last Sunday with Prabhu and Yadvan Prabhuji about this. That is the offense committed by against a Vaishnava, its effect is temporary or permanent. It very much lies in the hands of the offender. That if you seek forgiveness, then the effect is only temporary. But if you don't, then it goes in your permanent bank balance, and that may even uproot the whole bhakti tree. It may block. And Prabhu gave a very nice example of using credit card. If you are to if you make mistakes 3 times with your password and set, it blocks. It blocks for a little while, you have to wait. Like that. So our bhakti path is there's a block. And we can remove that block by seeking forgiveness from the devotee we have offended. Here, of course, Daksha took some rectification step. And as a result, he is again being given another opportunity to act like Daksha. But not exactly in terms of his activity, he is as powerful in terms of producing children, which we will hear. But the way he comes down is slightly different this time in his birth. So, Srila Prabhupada next year, therefore he decided that all these things taking place when between great personality. What to speak of people in this age where we are, equipped with problems. What are these? Manda sumanda matayo manda bhagya upad. And of course, as we know, Srila Prabhupada mentioned here that we are not only short-lived there, people had long life, and they were very strong mentally and physically and everything, consciousness was much elevated. But nowadays, we are suffering from all these problems. Short-lived, we have mand, lazy. We are very lazy. We are not interested in the spiritual realization. So lazy. We find all the excuses of the world not to engage ourselves in spiritual practice. And that is Manta. And Sumanta Mata, we are misguided. That firstly, we are not interested. And even if we show a little bit of interest, then we are misguided that we will be guided here and there, and we'll end up being some upsampradaya, cheap path where we promised mountain, but you will get just a piece of stone, or you may not get in that. So there are so many cheating spiritual leaders are there in the world. So misguided people will be very easily misguided. Will fall in the hands of wrong spiritual seekers. And also manda bhagya, unfortunate. We unfortunate that even though when the most sublime method of Sankirtan movement is available to us, we are most unfortunate that we are not interested even in taking that, even when it comes to us. Isn't that great misfortune? Devotees go on the street, they chant and they invite, and even then we will not. And of course, Upadruta, we are always disturbed, distracted with so many things happening in the world. You name it. So, all these things are against us in terms of making progress on the path of spiritual realization. That our own shortcomings plus, physically and mentally we are so weak. So very, very difficult. But whatever thoughts and activities we are performing, whether we are knowledge or ignorance, they have consequences. When we perform sinful activities with knowledge, it's a great consequences. Even when we engage in sinful activities in ignorance, still it has consequences. So, ignorance is not an excuse for not being punished by the law of karma. Srila Prabhupada making that point. Law of karma is very, very subtle. And we have experience of this from our day-to-day life. You may not know the speed limit, but if you go through the red light camera, you will be fine. But the point is that even when we have the knowledge, and we still go through the speed light, the red camera. So when we have knowledge of all this episode of Daksha and so forth, what havoc it has can create in the life of a devotee, still we do not fear from committing the same offenses against devotees, similar offenses against the devotee. So, in other words, we do not understand, we understand, but we do not take the gravity which is there by not following this, applying this knowledge from the scriptures in our own life. We hear all these things from Daksha, Shiva, Kansa, and so forth, but then how much we apply them. So, another point I would like to highlight here is that Srila Prabhupada is emphasizing that how Daksha regained his Daksha Prajapati position by the mercy of Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is a great personality. He he forgives. He's pleased, Ashutosh is pleased very easily with the devotees, good acts, good behavior. So here, in devotee's life, the mercy and the blessings is very, very important. Our spiritual progress, we should never think is a result of our own endeavor or practice. If I can take an example coming from a village life, what is in our control is our own endeavor to some extent. Our, technically speaking, nothing is in our control, but even if we say that there is something in our control, then our own effort is in our control. The mercy or the result of our effort is not in our control. So I remember we will, take the bulls to the field and we'll plow the field. We'll take the weeds out of the field. We'll apply cow dung. We'll prepare the land nicely in order to sow the seeds of wheat, paddy, crops, seedlings, and so forth. Oil seeds, legume seeds, and so this is enough. But how far can you be successful with your crop if the rain does not come? But is the rain in your control? Then it's not in your control. So what is in your control is you prepare yourself as well as you can and always depend upon the mercy of the blessings of superiors and ultimately the Lord. But we must prepare our land. So our heart is like land, our mind is like land. We must prepare it through the process of chanting, through the process of bhakti. Rain will fall and then the seed will grow and it will grow into seedling, plant and flower and fruits will come. But if you do not prepare the land, leave it like hard and like a stone, a rock, even if or even when the rain falls on it, what good is it going to do? Mercy is coming. So just like that, when we distribute books, when we go on book distribution and when we do on chanting and so forth, rain is falling. The rain of mercy is falling. But if our heart is like hard rock, the mind is totally dry, then we are not, our readiness is not there. So that's the point I'm trying to highlight here, is that our success in spiritual life is a combination of our endeavor plus the mercy. But mercy is the ultimate thing. As we progress in our devotional life, we realize that it is ultimately the mercy of the devotee and the Lord, which is the essential element of our success in our bhakti path. The message I take from this episode that Lord Shiva is very merciful. He appears in the life of Daksha. He appears in the life of Prachetas. So his mercy is still flowing from Daksha to his children, to his generations and generations. Ultimately, so the mercy of great devotee is always there. We just have to have receptive field to receive it. If we protect ourselves with an umbrella, then the rain will fall, but it will not fall on us. So we do not need to go through this process of taking another body, another life again, whether it's goat life or deer life, or monkey nut, doesn't matter. Srila Prabhupada brought this knowledge to us, so we totally bypass all this whole thing. So we end this process right in this life by following the bhakti path given to us. So, in summary, we all know this, but it's a question of being conscious of it, being very, very conscious of the seriousness, the serious impact, the serious effect it can have on our own bhakti. Tree or bhakti creeper can be affected very badly and can be then pulled out. We are not careful in terms of avoiding offenses against great personality, the devotee of the Lord. Mahasevadvaram ahur vimuktes. It says in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam that when we serve devotee of the Lord, it opens the door. Mahasevadvaram ahur vimuktes. Vimukta is liberation. When we serve the devotee of the Lord, it opens the door for liberation, and real liberation means serving the lotus feet of the Lord, eternally engaging in the eternal occupation of our soul. That is the real liberation. And so, by if we reverse this process, if it can open the door for liberation, and if we offend, it can close the door for liberation also. It can even push it down to hell. Tamodvara. Doshita samsan. So when we associate with materialistic people, or when we engage in materialistic activities, and especially when we dare to offend the devotee, then we are essentially not only closing the door for liberation, we are basically pushing ourselves further down in the big scheme of this material universe. And our journey back to God, back to Lord Krishna is delayed. Just like here we see 5 mantra long journey for Daksha. I don't know what happens to Daksha after this birth. We'll hear is I would assume so that he is great personality, demigod, goes back to his original position of serving the Lord in the domestic. But Daksha, even though he has had this opportunity to associate with great personality like Shiva, so much. And not only that, he associates with great personality Narada Muni, but he still offends. He will curse Narada Muni later on. When Narada Muni comes and liberates his 2 lots of children, the particular, Daksha, 10,000 first, he sends them away to Vaikuntha. Then again, Daksha said, okay, no problem. I'll produce another 1,000, you produce another 1,000 quickly. The Narada says, oh, here I'll do the opportunity for me. He comes again, sends them to the Narada. That's too much, Narada Muni. I curse you cannot stay on this spot for a long time. Narada said, that's all right. He's still wondering and distributing. He's still doing, Narada Muni hasn't changed. He's still doing what he was doing there. He's still finding candidates for liberation, sending them back. So, interesting. Anyway, there are some messages in this episode for all of us to imbibe in our own life. Be careful with committing offenses and be keen to serve the devotees, receive their blessings. That's how our Vedic culture is based upon receiving blessings from all superiors. We touch the lotus feet, the feet of our parents and teachers. It's not disappearing now. Now it's hello, hi, and hugging. No more. So anyway, I'll just read the verse again. Following the order of Lord Brahma, all the Pachetas accepted the girl as their wife. See, this is another wonderful thing. All 10 accepted one girl and they did not argue. But, Lord Brahma, but, no but. From the womb of this girl, the son of Lord Brahma, named Daksha took birth. Still being recognized as the son of Lord Brahma, even though he appears now here as the son of Pachetas, but his original identity of son of Lord Brahma is still maintained, of course. His original identity is really just a servant of the Lord, but he is being identified because of the way he has appeared in this material world. Daksha had to take birth from the womb of Marisha due to his disobeying and disrespecting Lord Mahadev. So this is the point I was trying to highlight, that the offense can glide us down and blessings can uplift our existence. Consequently, he had to give up his body twice. We have taken this body now, we don't know how many times. Let's put an end to it by applying this knowledge in our bhakti life. And depending upon the mercy of the Lord, and the mercy doesn't mean that we sit idle and just wait for it. No, we must prepare the land, and mercy will be useful. Otherwise, mercy will come, and if you are dead person in terms of consciousness and so forth, then Hare Krishna. Comments, questions? Yes.
I had this question when I read this sentence first. Not only that, but because of disrespecting Lord Shiva, he had to undergo the tribulation of taking birth from within the womb of a woman. When I read this first, I had the impression that Prabhupada was trying to say there's alternatives from taking birth from the womb of a woman. Of course, in special cases,
A womb of a monkey, a womb of an elephant, a womb of a woman.
yeah, I mean a female. Let's call it female.
I thought I read that as taking birth in the human form. Yeah.
Yeah, the appearance is different. In the first life, he appeared from mental son of life. Here he has, when we read the journey of unborn, the prayers of unborn child, you can see how horrible it is to be in the womb of a mother for 9 months at least. Some living beings have much longer gestation period. Could be years. But so it's not very, joyful journey to come to this world. So real emotion is the consciousness. Consciousness of the Brahmana is at least mode of goodness, peaceful. Consciousness of the Kshatriya is mode of passion. So in that sense, there is already demotion. But Lord is very merciful. He gives us opportunity to rise above all these modes from whichever mode you are, just by following the process. So the point there is that if you offend a devotee, our consciousness will be polluted, degraded, and so forth. So that you can have a very easy appearance, just being born from the mind of Brahma. He thought he appeared in a flash, and here he has to appear after a painful journey of at least being in the womb of mother for 9 months. Very painful journey, so much so that it's very painful. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam describes that when you are born, you lose all the memories because, Brahma is very powerful. Intelligent, the design system in such a way that the head is squeezed as you come out. Very rubbery, soft, spongy, and afterwards it solidifies. But it's so painful that you lose. It's very painful. People die. When child dies, during birth. So it's very painful. So that's also the point there. That as we offend a devotee, our journey becomes more and more painful in this material.
Mother dies too.
Sorry?
Mother dies too.
Yeah, of course, yes. Yeah, of course. It's painful for both mother and child. So taking birth is not at all very joyful. Neither for mother nor for the child, and yet we celebrate. Child doesn't remember what pain it has gone through, but mother remembers. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, maybe a few days, and then again, one more child. This is the influence of Maya. So the whole journey in this material world for general people like us is miserable. Here, because there is only misery, padam, and which we experience in today's society more and more because here Srila Prabhupada makes this point. having no knowledge of the eternity of the spirit soul and its transmigration, population of the present age is in the greatest ignorance. And we experience that right now. So much so ignorance is prevailing that bombardment and killing of innocent living beings going here. Any other points?
So this Daksha is a very difficult character to be analyzed in entire Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. See, you mentioned that he basically degraded by taking birth from a womb of a mother. I mean, according to my opinion, it is not degradation actually. It is an elevation from his previous birth, from a corpse birth. Yes, from his appearance point of view, now he is actually taking birth in a Kshatriya family. But if we see the description of Daksha in the 6th canto, see, Daksha is born as the son of Marisha and the Prachetas. Then he actually creates a lot of progeny. Then he becomes frustrated that no one is becoming religious. Then he actually he takes sannyasa. It's very interesting from Brahma Manasa Putra to as a son of a Kshatriya, and then he takes sannyasa altogether. Generally, Kshatriyas are not allowed to take sannyasa. But Daksha took sannyasa. And then he went to Vindhya mountains and he actually did a great penance to worship Lord Vishnu. And the same Lord Vishnu actually, who appeared in eight-handed form to Prachetas, he again appeared because he is the son of the Prachetas anyway. So then Daksha offers a beautiful praise, Samsaguhya praise in the 6th canto. So Lord appears and gives a lot of knowledge. Then, not only that, Lord actually gives a beautiful girl also for Daksha. Now you produce progeny from this girl. Actually, Lord creates her. She is the daughter of Panchajani, so Asikni, I think. Asniki or Asikni. So then he produces the 10,000 Haryasvas and 1,000. Now the question is, for these 5 Manvantaras, what happened to Daksha?
Yeah, that was the point.
Yeah, and if we go back to the Swayambhu Manvantara, Daksha basically, when he got the goat's head, he was very repentful. And he understood the mistake that he has done. And he offers praise to Lord Shiva also, because he is very repentful. So, according to what I heard from some of the commentaries, that he remained as one of the Bhutaganas, as a devotee of Lord Shiva. Then he was given an opportunity to take birth in a Vaishnava family like Prachetas. So, because taking birth in a Prachetas family is considered the greatest boon that Daksha could ever get. Yes, from where he came, suppose, for example, you are waiting for your best friend to come. You didn't get any means of transport and you got into a very different bus, and then the journey may not be comfortable, but when you land, that was important. So taking birth from a womb of a female is not at all degrading in that sense. Actually, it gives realization to the pious souls in the womb of a mother. So the 5 Manvantaras actually, he worshipped Lord Shiva. And then he was given an opportunity to take birth in a great Vaishnava family of Prachetas. Then he saw Lord Vishnu, otherwise he could have never seen Lord Vishnu. And then the question is, then again he developed that offensive mentality, isn't it? See, he was born in a great Vaishnava family. You can't think of not one father, 10 fathers are equally important, And then he saw Lord Vishnu and he offered prayers. And then why he developed that offensive mentality to Lord Narada Muni? So, based on my analysis, committing a Vaishnava aparad and thinking that if I am forgiven, that Vaishnava aparad will be nullified is actually a great misconception. It is partially true. In Bhagavatam, it is said that if a clay pot is used for storing alcohol, liquor, whatever you do with that pot, that contamination will never go. So this is called Surakumbam. Actually, it's mentioned in Bhagavatam. Similarly, when we commit any Vaishnava aparadh, it's nothing to do whether that person has forgiven. It all depends upon how much pure your heart will become so that you don't commit further offenses. So when someone commits an offense, we may think that that is actually directed to one person, but the offender is one, but the offended will be multi-faces. Suppose, okay, there is a big family, and then I am very offensive to one person. Everyone who is associated with that person are offended. And Panchabhutas are offended. And the elements are offended. And including the Lord is offended because after all, everyone is the child of the Lord. So it's not exclusively a Vaishnava aparadh, it becomes Jana aparadh, it becomes Bhagavata aparadh. It's a whole complex mixture. So then what happens is, how to become free from that offensive mentality means we have to do bhakti. Otherwise, then what happens is people think that, okay, I commit an offense, then I'll go and ask forgiveness. Okay, you offended the child. What happened to the brothers of the child? What happened to the mother of the child? What happened to the father of the child? Everyone is upset how you behave with that person. So do you have to go and ask, what about the material elements who heard your offensive mentality? So Daksha had to actually undergo a lot of things to purify to the greatest extent for 5 mantras. Then he saw Vishnu, but still the traces of offense is there. An interesting thing, sometimes for some service description, unless you are very cranky or offensive, you cannot function properly. Daksha's duty is to procreate, and for that there has to be a level of temperament, and Krishna puts that type of soul in the body of the Daksha to commit that offense so that he is purified of that. So this offensive mentality will only be purified when our heart is become completely clean. That it only happens by the mercy of devotees and Krishna.
Yeah, thank you very much, Prabhuji. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam also explained that no amount of atonement is sufficient to destroy the root of our sins, etc. So all these forgiveness, atonements can, if we imagine a plant, so imagine sin being a plant, then all the seeking forgiveness and atonement can destroy the plant up to its root, above the root. But the root is still there. And that residual effect of the offense is still there. Only bhakti can destroy completely. So yes, bhakti has to be there, but the role of forgiveness is also there.
Thank you.
If you keep performing bhakti and not apologize, then also the net result is the same. Because you cannot.
We have to do both.
Yeah. So that's why power of bhakti is there, but we should not misuse it. This is one of the offenses also, isn't it? That you commit offense on the strength of bhakti. So we must seek, because great personalities say that Lord will withdraw his mercy if you offend his pure devotees. There is no cure, isn't it? I think it's not the last time to say that. Because pure devotees reside in the heart of the Lord. So devotees may not take the offense, but the Lord does. And he said, Nahi paripran. He said, if you offend my devotee, you can offend my harm, holy name will rectify. But if you offend the pure devotee, even the holy name will not be used. Nothing will get used. You go and seek forgiveness first. then. So yes, the root has to be burnt, and only bhakti can burn, but there is process. Prabhuji, in this purport, Srila Prabhupada, to highlight it, I take a point about this human birth is very special, no doubt. But in general sense, the position of demigod is much higher than the human position. So in that sense, when you come down from that position to this position, it's a degradation itself. And but thanks for sharing this information that Daksha became one of the associates of Lord Shiva in between. Because I was wondering, what was he doing? Was he still hanging around and wandering the universe for 5 Manvantara in his goat head? Or did he, because, some personalities have very, very long life. It's not that he gave up his whole body, but it's like he.
Actually, Shiva, the Bhutas he had, they call it Pramada Ganas.
Yeah.
Mada means man, Pramada means very, very interesting characters. So you might see people with goat's head, you might see people with scorpion heads, you might see people without head, all these Bhutaganas. And Lord Shiva is so kind when he goes on a bull or oxen, all these ganas, pishachas, they come. And some will be with different heads. So Daksha had to go through a lot of purification by mercy of Lord Shiva.
Very, very long. See.
5 Manvantras.
Yeah. But yes, Daksha is still in both life, is born with certain temperament.
Oh, yes.
His job was to produce children, which he is doing. And of course, he was also doing the service to the Lord by producing children. Nard Muni was also doing service to the Lord by liberating them. There was conflict of two services. And of course, from our perspective, the service Nard Muni was doing was much higher than the service. Like, Daksha was expecting from children, but still it is service to the Lord.
Like what we discussed yesterday, 2 Mahajanas were fighting,
Yeah.
Shiva wanted to protect Markandeya, and Yama also has to do his duty. So the big boss has to intervene and reconcile.
So when there is a conflict of dharma, we go by, we opt for the higher dharma. Then there is no sin. All right. Mataji, any challenges here?
I was actually I had all these questions forming in my head, but as the conversation unfolded, my questions were answered. So thank you very much. Nice class.
Daksha is in a different position, and he's just making one offense, big offense. He's going through this new austerity. Like a normal human being like me, who would be making so many offenses, knowingly or unknowingly. Sometimes just in a normal conversation, it just may or attack someone. What is our chance? We are doing time with bhakti, we are also making offense, even though no matter what we.
Well, that's why there is, the first thing is that Lord is reminding you, you know that you've committed offense, you offended somebody. So there are certain things we can do from our end. We do all the corrective steps we can to nullify that, to clear the, air, so to speak. Not that simply ignore it. So we should take steps because it upsets our relationships also. So we do that. Because repentance is firstly acknowledging that we have done something wrong. Repenting is another form of atonement. And taking some corrective step is also a form of clearing the garbage on the path of our bhakti. So it's all there. So we should take that. And of course, always depend upon the mercy of the Lord and the mercy of the holy name and the process. So every day we begin with, if you are doing daily worship, you always seek forgiveness at the end of your service. that you have committed thousands and thousands of offenses, please forgive me now. So, you're very right, Mother. Undoubtedly we are committing so many offenses, but what is, we walk on the street and here and there we kill so many ants. It's absolutely impossible to have a sinless life. So what is the refuse? What options we have? We try our level best to avoid offenses, and if we have committed, then we rectify and seek and pray to the Lord and Guru for the guidance and deliverance and for the and avoiding such. So the more we are conscious of, the more careful we'll be. And the sadhu sangha is the solution to everything. We know from Bidari the hunter. It was Nanda who paying obeisance to the harmonia and now not even interested in killing an ant. So awareness is consciousness. So the fact that we are so much in ignorance in today's society that we kill people and we don't feel anything. We don't think we have done wrong. The first thing is, if you understand you've done something wrong, that is the beginning of the journey, and Lord is reminding you because you still have consciousness, so to speak, And our consciousness is so buried these days, kill cows and everything, slaughtering everything, and bringing all the calamity upon the whole creation. We are not conscious. So be conscious of it. Be mindful of it. Mind your mind, mind your words, mind your actions. And still, if we end up doing something wrong, then we shouldn't just sit idle. There are steps we can do. And then God will be helpful. And you will see that you've done your best. Now, there are things beyond your control. I should do so.
So one important point in this discussion, when Jiva Goswami was analyzing why Bharata Maharaja was attached to a deer after coming to a great platform of bhakti. So actually Jiva Goswami explains that offensive mentality will not be cleared from the heart of a devotee until he achieves prema. So until even bhava stage, a devotee can develop or at least to become an object of showing reactions to the previous offenses. So then he explains that if you look at the life of Bharata Maharaj, he had a very pious life. Then how come that he developed this? Then Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he was writing commentary to Jiva Goswami, he says that there are two obstacles on the path of bhakti. One obstacle is due to offensive mentality, and the other offense is actually created by the Lord himself. So, and distinction between these two are very difficult. So, in the case of Bharata Maharaj, Jiva Goswami quotes that he has committed some offense in one of his previous lives, and Krishna kept that so that he goes through this stage of realizations, and he gave that reaction in the form of attachment to the deity. So, what I understand personally is when we deliberate on these philosophical topics and seriously think about it, you will not have time or interest or energy to create offenses. Only people who are free keep their mind idle, not read Prabhupada books and discuss philosophy. Their brain is full of fertility, and then they keep talking. So that's what Yudhishthira Maharaj asked Narada Muni solutions for different things. And Narada Muni gives deliberation of philosophical topics will purify a conditioned soul not to commit offenses in the form of sense gratification. Just like if someone is seriously thinking of how to come out of one issue, for him all other issues other than that will become insignificant, and he will not interact in a very offensive manner to anyone. So one has to become very contemplative devotee to see what our goal is and what is our business here. Our business is not to prove we are wrong or we are great or we are offended, we want to work. No, our goal is actually to do bhakti. And if that is the case, then eventually we become free from the instrumental.
So just to be very serious, that's all. Because we don't take it seriously. Now that's the point I want to highlight, lack of fear. We know all these things, but we don't take it seriously. If you know that there's a naked wire with 20,000 volts flowing in there, you will touch it, will be killed. With that knowledge, you will not touch it. But if you want to have fun, touch it and then you see that. So yeah, that's the use of knowledge. Otherwise, what's the point of having all this stuff? You don't apply. So you know the serious consequences are big, apply. And you will, if you're serious. Any comments on devotee on the Zoom?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Kadamani Dada, thank you very much for such a nice class and especially a discussion. And it's always nice that after Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam class, we have discussion, and thank you very much, Shamanan Prabhu, for all these comments. I just have, I know it is a lot of time, time is really finished now. Just one comment is that when we leave our body and the next birth, our name won't be same. But in the case of Daksha, when he left the body and he took a birth from the Pricheta's wife, Marisa, his name was still Daksha. And that's the time he starts all the creations of all this progeny. So that is an interesting point here. Another thing quickly I would say that there are prayers which ultimately Daksha had done, and those that Hamsa Guhya prayers. And after having those prayers for the Lord himself, then Lord has his darshan. So there's the mercy of all those prayers Daksha recited, and the Supreme Personality of God had given him all the intelligence and everything. Another thing is that Daksha never had a son. He had all the daughters, and all the progeny actually came from his daughters. So these are the things which I wanted. If somebody wants to read about Hamsa Guhya prayers, that's Canto 6, Chapter 4. Very interesting prayers by by Daksha, to the Lord. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Bhatta. Yes, Daksha plays very important role in the creation. First Manvantara had so many daughters, and all the progenitors come from them married to the sages. Same thing again, sixth Manvantara. So yes, importance. I don't know whether Daksha remembered that he was in the second birth, but then he remembered he was Daksha in the first birth and his name was Daksha also, but it's an interesting coincidence that.
One important point in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam narrations, we are talking about positions of Prajapatis. Sometimes the position and the person's name is the same. When we say Daksha, it is a position.
It is also
and in Vaishnava literature commentaries, we don't actually name a person. We look at the position and then we see how this position has the consequences. So that's what Prabhupada says. We don't actually focus on the sinner, we focus on the sin. So when we say about Brahma has a different name. Indra has a different name, but Bhagavatam never mentions that name very frequently. He talks about Indra, Daksha, and everything. So Daksha is a title, and whoever takes birth will get the same title.
So Daksha is also a title. Like
Daksha is a title. Daksha Prajapati is a title.
Daksha means Daksha. Expert in doing his job, and his job was to produce children. He did very well. All glories to him. Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Amana.
Thank you very much for your association and participation. Thank you for my humble obeisances. Vandha kalpataru vyasya
Patitanam Pavanebhyo Namo Namah.
Grandra Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai.
Jai.
Krishna Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Hari
Hari
Hari Bol.
Thank you. Hari Prabhu ki
Jai.
Quick Dasha.
Thank you, Mataji. We are waiting for that.
I know, right? I was saying mercy.
Jai Jai Shri Shri Gaurnitai ki Jai.
much, Yamuna, for
Hari
your
Bol.
such beautiful darshan. Hare Krishna.
Jai Shri Shri Gaurnitai ki.
हमने તેને ચડી ગઈ પ્લેન પર અમને પ્લેન પર ચડી ગઈ તે फ्रॉम सिडनी यार हमने चढ़ी गई थे